What if the financial breakthrough you've been praying for is already in motion, and the only thing holding it back is the grip of worry itself? Picture this moment as a threshold, not an accident. You're here because something deeper than coincidence is calling your attention, inviting you to see what heaven has been orchestrating behind the scenes while you've been battling anxiety and doubt. You know that feeling when you check your bank balance late at night and your chest tightens, when the bills stack higher than the paycheck, when you've done everything right, but the numbers still don't add up. You've whispered prayers in the dark, worked until exhaustion became your shadow, and wondered if relief would ever truly come. But what if I told you that right now, in this exact moment, a divine shift is taking place in your life? Not tomorrow, not next month, but right now. This isn't about positive thinking or manifesting abundance through sheer willpower. This is about understanding a profound spiritual truth that changes everything. God doesn't just provide for you. He's actively financing your life according to a plan far more generous than you've dared to imagine. The question is whether you're ready to stop wrestling with worry long enough to receive what's already being released. There's a reason you've felt that restless pull in your spirit lately, that sense that something is about to change even when circumstances look the same. It's not wishful thinking. It's the first signal that divine provision is activating in your reality. Those doors you've been pushing against, the ones that wouldn't budge no matter how hard you tried, they're beginning to swing open, not because you finally figured out the perfect strategy, but because heaven's timing has aligned with your readiness. Your season of barely scraping by, of constant calculation and midnight anxiety is coming to an end. Not through your grinding hustle alone, but because there's a sacred orchestration at work that transcends human effort.
Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life, a guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming, with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10,000 readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who were tired of living in the fog, ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment.
Every silent tear you've cried, every restless night spent racing through worst-case scenarios, every moment you forced yourself to take one more step when your soul was screaming for breakthrough, none of it went unnoticed. It shaped you, refined you, prepared you for the elevation that's unfolding right now. Think back to those delays that crushed your hope, the rejections that felt like betrayal, the opportunities that slipped through your fingers at the last moment. In the thick of those disappointments, they felt like punishments, like evidence that you were forgotten or cursed. But what if they were actually divine protection? What if you were begging for entry into rooms that would have slowly drained your joy? Chasing opportunities that looked glittering on the surface but would have scattered your purpose into 1,000 distractions. Here's what most people miss. Disappointment isn't always denial. Sometimes it's redirection. Sometimes it's God closing a door because what's waiting behind it would cost you more than it would give. Those losses you mourned, the ones that kept you up at night questioning everything, they weren't endings. They were clearings, making space for something aligned with who you're truly meant to become. And now, as you stand in this moment, heaven is doing something profound in your inner wiring. It's dismantling the survival reflex that's been running your life, that constant brace for impact mode that has you scanning for threats before you even open your email or check your phone. Money became more than a practical concern. It became a looming shadow that tensed your shoulders and shortened your breath before you even faced the actual challenge. But God is interrupting that cycle right now, anchoring you in a peace that doesn't make logical sense when you look at the circumstances. This isn't about abandoning responsibility or quitting your effort. It's about releasing the idol of grind, the belief that your worth and your provision are tied to how much you can produce or control. Grace is stepping in, carrying you with a rhythm that looks different. Peace sparking creativity, trust fueling inspired action instead of frantic scrambling. As Philippians chapter 4 verse 19 reminds us, He supplies every need according to His riches in glory, not according to your worries, not according to your forecasts or your worst case planning. There's a supply that flows from a source beyond what you can manipulate or manufacture, and it's activating in your life right now. If you've been feeling this truth resonate deep in your spirit, if something about this message is stirring hope you've been afraid to feel, do me a favor, subscribe to this channel right now. There's more revelation coming that you don't want to miss, insights that will anchor you through this transition. Hit that subscribe button and join a community of people who are choosing faith over fear, provision over panic. Notice what's beginning to shift in your experience. There's an unnatural calm settling where panic used to rule, a fog lifting to reveal clarity you haven't felt in years, a freedom to say no without shame or scrambling to justify yourself. These aren't random feelings. They're evidence of an internal realignment, a recalibration of your relationship with provision itself. And watch for the small wins that start appearing, the ones that seem too subtle to celebrate but are actually heaven's fingerprints, a surprise rebate that lands effortlessly, a stubborn debt that dissolves quietly without the drama you expected, a casual conversation that unlocks a path you never thought to chase. These aren't flukes or coincidences, they're the signature of divine orchestration, clearing your trail without your striving, opening pathways while you sleep. Your nervous system quiets first, peace before paychecks, serenity signaling that the source has switched. You're no longer trying to squeeze provision out of a resistant universe. You're learning to receive from an abundant Father who's been waiting for you to stop white-knuckling long enough to accept what He's offering. But here's where it gets challenging, because there's a part of you that's been hardened by disappointment, that survivor in you who learned early that help isn't reliable, that you have to hoard and protect and suspect every gift because it might be taken away. That part served you once. It got you through seasons where you had no other choice. But abundance demands an upgrade. It requires a new operating system. God isn't just dropping resources into your life. He's rewiring your responses, shifting you from frantic figuring to faith-filled pause, from clenched fists to open palms. The old script screamed grab before it's gone, hoard because there's never enough, prove your worth through exhaustion. The new script whispers it's secured, it's sustained, you can rest because the source doesn't run dry. This is the deeper work happening beneath the surface while you've been focused on the bank account. Wisdom precedes wealth. Character fortification comes before capacity expansion, because God knows that if He poured increase into an unrenovated mindset, it would destroy you rather than develop you. Abundance in the hands of someone still operating from scarcity creates chaos, not freedom. So He's been working on you, not against you, strengthening your discernment so you can steward what's coming, building your boundaries so relationships don't drain what heaven is depositing, clarifying your purpose so the provision serves something meaningful rather than just feeding an empty appetite for more. You've probably sensed it already, even if you couldn't name it. You're less rattled by other people's opinions. You don't feel the old compulsion to justify your choices or defend your path to everyone who questions it. There's an instinctive withdrawal from conversations that leave you feeling depleted, a new ability to protect your peace without guilt, Your discernment is sharpening, your capacity is expanding. These are signs that your life is realigning to divine flow, that you're being prepared to hold what's being released. The provision isn't just financial, it's holistic, it's relational clarity, emotional stability, spiritual authority, and yes, material resources that reflect the internal transformation. And here's something crucial to understand. Heaven's timing is precise. It's never premature, arriving before you're ready to steward it well. And it's never tardy, withholding from those who are faithfully walking in alignment. If progress has felt slow, it's because God was waiting for your soul to shed the chains of lack mentality, ensuring that when provision arrives, it becomes your partner, not your tyrant. Wealth without wisdom creates dependency. Resources without character create entitlement. But when the internal foundation is solid, when you've learned to find your worth in something beyond the balance sheet, then increase enhances who you already are, rather than eroding it. If this is speaking to something you've been wrestling with, if you're feeling the shift happening inside, even while the outside still looks uncertain, take a moment right now to like this video. That small action tells the algorithm to share this message with others who need to hear it. People who are right where you were a few minutes ago, desperate for hope but afraid to believe it's real. The comparison trap is losing its grip on you. Other people's pace doesn't dictate yours anymore. Their breakthroughs don't diminish your timeline. Heaven's supply is customized, tailored to the exact shape of your calling and the precise rhythm of your journey. You're not late. You're not forgotten. You're right on schedule for a provision that fits who you are, not who you're trying to imitate. God isn't in the business of creating chaos or breeding frenzy. He nurtures clarity, not confusion, purpose, not panic. So if there's been a pause in the forward motion, if doors have stayed closed longer than you expected, it wasn't abandonment, it was preparation. Heaven was fortifying your foundation, ensuring that when the flood of favor comes, you don't get swept away by it. This is why rest has become sacred practice for you. Not something you do after all the tasks are checked off, but something you do as a declaration of trust. Rest used to feel like laziness, like you were falling behind while everyone else hustled ahead. But now it's becoming a form of worship, a statement that your provision doesn't rest on your shoulders alone. You're transitioning from fear's grip to provision's embrace, not through hype or empty promises, but through a holy reordering of how you relate to resources, to work, to God Himself. The old anxiety patterns are breaking, the scarcity reflexes are losing their power. You're learning a new language, one where enough is a reality, not a fantasy. And the evidence is already appearing, even if it's subtle. You're sleeping a little deeper. The knot in your stomach isn't as tight. You catch yourself smiling at small joys you used to rush past. These aren't distractions from the financial pressure. They're signs that the pressure is lifting, that a new baseline is being established in your spirit. But there's a battle that still rages in the quiet moments, isn't there? That voice that whispers you're being naive, that faith without a backup plan is foolishness, that you should be doing more, controlling more, preparing for the worst. It's the voice of the survivor, the part of you that equates vigilance with safety, that believes rest is a luxury you can't afford. That voice isn't evil, it's just outdated. It's a strategy from a season you've outgrown, a tool that served you when you had no other option. But God is inviting you into a different reality now, one where His faithfulness is the foundation and your effort flows from peace rather than panic. This doesn't mean passivity, it means inspired action instead of frantic scrambling. It means strategic moves rooted in clarity rather than desperate grabs at anything that looks like an opportunity. It means discerning the difference between an open door and a trap disguised as progress. You're being taught to move from a place of fullness, not lack, to create from overflow, not depletion, to give generously because you trust the source, not hoard fearfully because you doubt the supply. This shift isn't just changing your bank account, It's transforming your entire approach to life. Here's what's unfolding right now, whether you can see the full picture yet or not. Heaven is clearing pathways you didn't even know to ask for. Connections are aligning, resources are being repositioned, favor is being released in rooms you've never entered, conversations you haven't had yet, opportunities that haven't appeared on your radar. While you've been focused on the closed doors, God has been building new ones from scratch, custom designed for where you're going, not where you've been. The delay wasn't denial, it was divine construction, making sure what opens for you actually fits the assignment on your life. And there's something powerful about the moment when you stop begging and start receiving, when you shift from convincing God to provide to simply accepting what He's already decided to give. That shift happens internally first. It's a posture change, a release of the death grip on control, an exhale that says, I trust you with this. Take a second right now and drop a comment below. Tell me what's shifting for you as you watch this. Share where you're feeling the activation of provision in your life, even if it's just a whisper of hope where despair used to live. Your testimony matters. It strengthens your own faith and encourages someone else who's still struggling to believe. The season of scraping by is ending, not because you finally cracked the code or discovered the secret formula, but because there's a divine timing that's aligning with your readiness. You've been refined through the pressure. You've learned lessons in the lack that you couldn't learn any other way, and now the tables are turning. What you couldn't force is being given. What you couldn't manipulate is being released. What you couldn't manufacture through sheer willpower is flowing from a source that never runs dry. This is the difference between human hustle and divine provision. One exhausts you and still leaves you empty. The other fills you while you rest and sustains you beyond what you could produce alone. You're discovering that God's economy doesn't operate on scarcity principles. There's no lack in heaven. There's no budget crisis in the throne room. The resources you need already exist. They're just waiting for the internal alignment that allows them to flow into your hands without destroying you in the process. And that's the key most people miss. They pray for provision while clutching scarcity. They ask for abundance while hoarding what little they have. They want the breakthrough but resist the internal transformation that makes them capable of sustaining it. God isn't withholding to punish you. He's pacing the release to protect you, because wealth in the hands of someone still enslaved to lack mentality becomes a curse, not a blessing. It creates paranoia, not peace. It breeds isolation, not generosity. But when the heart is healed first, when the identity is rooted in something beyond the bank balance, then increase becomes a tool for purpose, not a trap for the ego. This is why you felt the internal shifts before the external evidence appeared. The peace settling in your chest, the clarity emerging from the fog, the ability to say no without spiraling into guilt or fear. These are the first fruits of a harvest that's already been planted, seeds that were sown in seasons of faithfulness you thought no one was watching. God saw every moment you chose integrity when cutting corners would have been easier. He noted every time you gave when you barely had enough for yourself. He recorded every prayer you whispered through tears, every act of faith you took when logic screamed to retreat. None of it was wasted. All of it was investment in a future you couldn't see, but He was building. And now the return is beginning, not as a paycheck for good behavior, but as the natural outflow of a life aligned with kingdom principles. You sow generosity, you reap abundance. You sow faithfulness, you reap favor. You sow trust, you reap provision that doesn't require your constant striving. If you haven't already, make sure you've turned on notifications for this channel by clicking that bell icon. These messages aren't random, they're timed for your journey. The next video might carry the exact word you need for the next phase of your breakthrough. Don't miss it. The shift is already happening. Can you feel it? That subtle but unmistakable knowing that something is different, that the atmosphere around your life is changing, that doors are unlocking even while you sleep. This isn't wishful thinking. This is spiritual discernment picking up on the movement of heaven in your circumstances. You're transitioning from survival mode to abundance mindset, from lack language to provision vocabulary, from fear-based decisions to faith-fueled choices. And every step forward in this internal journey creates space for the external manifestation to appear. The money isn't the point, it's a byproduct. The real transformation is happening in how you see yourself, how you relate to God, how you steward what you're given. When that foundation is solid, the finances follow. When the heart is whole, the provision flows. When the identity is secure, the increase enhances rather than erodes. So stop worrying. Seriously. Put down the anxiety that's been your constant companion. Release the grip on control that's been exhausting you. Step into the rest that declares God is faithful, provision is secured, and your future is financed by a source that never runs dry. Your breakthrough isn't coming, it's here. The shift isn't pending, it's active. The provision isn't delayed, it's unfolding in perfect timing, orchestrated by a Father who knows exactly